channel. So today we're going to do 3 looks with the Glaminatrix Nearly Natural palette. This is what it looks like. I missed out on the first release of this and I was so upset, and they recently brought it back, obviously with new packaging and also several new shades, but the majority of the original shades are in here. And it's laid out a little bit differently. I actually kind of like the first one way more than this one in terms of the layout and overall look of it. But it's here now, I have it, and I've been playing around with it. I did do 1 look for my members a few weeks ago, but then I have done 3 extra looks for you for this video. And yeah, I have a decent amount of sort of thoughts on this. I do want to use it more though. I don't feel like my thoughts are 100%, but I do have initial first impressions on this palette. So if you're interested to see the looks that I've created and then also my thoughts at the end, then obviously keep on watching.
Okay, so first I went into the shade Barely There and I just wanted to see how this performs. So I put it all over the crease. This was a very light matte, I did have to build it up. I went into Serene and just wanted to add a little bit more depth, but not too much. I still wanted to keep this fairly light. Went into Second Skin, and this is a copper shimmer. I put this on the lids. This look was pretty basic. I just was testing it out and just wanting to go with more of these mid-tone browns. Went into Sultry. This was really pretty. I put this more towards the inner part of my lid, and this brightened up that copper a lot. You can see how beautiful and sparkly it is. This is definitely, I mean, I feel like the top layer of this palette are more topper shades, and then those other shimmers are kind of more your like typical shimmer formula, because this is definitely a little bit more sparkly. Went into Naked Eye, which is absolutely beautiful, and I put this in my inner corner, and this one was very nice. I really do like this shade. I tried not to go into this shade for every single look, but I really wanted to. And then went back into the first 2 shades and just put those under my lids just a little bit. I had spent like the day outside, so I didn't really want to put too much makeup on, but I did want to try this. That's why I've kept it pretty warm and basic, but it's pretty. I liked it. And yeah, popped on some faux freckles to finish the look. That was a really nice warm tone, neutral, with a pop like that inner corner was very sparkly. Okay, went into Essence. So this one I wanted to try the grungy yellows and greens, and so I put this all over the lid. And then went into Down to Earth, and this one kind of the same thing as the first look. I just wanted to see how this performs, so I put these 2 together and put this more on the lid area to have a little bit more green. And then went into Exposed. This was very pretty. I really liked this shade. This is another shade where as soon as I went into it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty. And then I wanted to go into it again for my 3rd look, but obviously I did not end up doing that. Then went into Stripped Back. Okay, so this one I put in the inner corner. It does have a little bit of a darker base. It's more of a purple, honestly, but I thought it would work really nicely with the green, so that's why I put it here. And it's still bright enough that I think it works in the inner corner, but you can see it's a little of a dark base. But I really love this look. This is definitely one that I enjoyed wearing. Okay, then we went into Untouched. So this one put all over the lids, and I hadn't gone into this one, so I wanted to test it out. So decent sort of mauvey eggplant-y color, I guess. Went into Smolder. So I knew I wanted to go into this black with sparkle, and I wasn't sure how, so I just thought, let's just put it all over the lid. It was so much more sparkly than I imagined. I thought I would put this on the lid and the sparkles would disappear. You can see I'm rubbing it and they're just still there. I was quite impressed. I thought it was actually a really pretty sparkly black. I've tried some sparkly blacks before, and this one was by far, I think, the prettiest. So if you're into that, I do think it's very nice. Went into Nearly Natural. and I wanted to lighten it up a little bit, and this worked really nicely with the matte shades that I had used, so I thought this would pair really nicely together, and yeah, I thought it was fine. Then went into Pure. So this is not a white, but I really wanted to use it as if it was a white, and just wanted to lighten my inner corner with a pop of this matte, and I think it worked really nicely. It almost looks white. Then went into Unveiled, which I had gone into before on a previous look, not in this video, and this is a really nice icy pink, and I wanted the sort of the top of my lid to sparkle a little bit more, so I didn't really need to do this because it kind of got rid of quite a lot of the sparkle from the black, but I still did it anyway. Okay, then just went into the original shade and put it underneath, and this is the final look. Obviously went in with some black eyeliner in my waterline, but yeah, I really like this look. It's kind of a glam look, one to go out with maybe. That was nice.
Alright, so those are the 3 looks. I definitely wasn't expecting to do this look as an option. There was like a different variation of a few colors that I really wanted to do. Like I wanted to do maybe the green with some of the pink, but quite honestly, I really wanted to try this black with the sparkles in it. So I went with this look, and I just felt like this is the only way that I could make it work. Obviously you can use the black with the green, but I did green in my second look. So in terms of overall looks, I liked all 3 of them. I thought they were really pretty. I really enjoyed going into this. I thought it was very easy to use. I thought the mattes worked really, really nicely. They weren't overly pigmented, so you could build them up, and I thought the shimmers all laid down on the lids really nicely, and they didn't crease too badly at the end of the day either. So overall, first impressions are good. I will say this formula is not the same formula as I have experienced in the Rich Romantic palette from Glaminatrix. So that formula, those shimmers are almost all duochromes, are almost all like special shades. This palette does not have special shades, in my opinion. They're beautiful shimmers, but none of these are duochromes. And I think initially when I got this palette, I was expecting maybe it to be similar to the Rich Romantic, where it looks like one shade, but potentially it flips a different way. I don't do my research, so I just go into this blind. I look at the palette, I'm like, oh, that looks really pretty, and I go into it, right? So, you know, my expectations aren't very educated in terms of what to expect. I don't read about what type of shimmers are in a palette most of the time. I just go for it, right? But because I had tried the Rich Romantic, and I really, really like that palette in my collection, which I have still yet to do a 3 looks, which I will do. I just wanted to get to this one first. I was expecting some of these, not all of them, but some of the shades to be very similar to that palette. Now they're not. Does that mean that this palette is bad? No, it doesn't. This is actually a neutral lover's dream. Like if you love your neutrals, but you also want to venture into like color, meaning like a little bit of grungy green, a little bit of pink, this is absolutely perfect for you. I think this is such a beautiful palette. If I didn't have multiple palettes in my collection and I just wanted to go into a neutral palette, I think this actually really, really is a good neutral palette. And I think it says it in the name, it's nearly natural. I think a lot of the looks that you can create with this are very, very natural, because some of these shades, I mean, this obviously is the lighter row of mattes, but they are less sort of impactful and pigmented. Obviously you can build them up, like I built up this off-white shade, which is called Pure, for my inner corner. So I built that up quite a bit for the impact, but initially it's a bit light. And this one called Barely There is a very light brown, perfect for your crease, but it's not super pigmented. So again, you have to build it up, and that's why I went into Serene. I think that was for what, the first or second look? I can't remember now. Maybe the first look I went into both of those just to have a little bit of depth, but I still kept it pretty light. I would say overall, the second look was my favorite, just because I went into these grungy greens. I definitely knew I had to go into them at some point. I think I would have gone into them actually a little bit more, but I wanted to keep the 3 different looks quite different from each other. But I really wanted to go into these again today, I'm not gonna lie. And I think with the black it would have been fine, it would have worked, but I hadn't tried this one yet, which is called Untouched, so I wanted to go into that one. And then obviously went into Nearly Natural and Unveiled for a little bit of pop, because this actually is very pretty. Some of these shimmers sparkle a little bit more than others. I would say overall, like these darker ones don't obviously have that impact. So you got Second Skin and Raw, a little bit darker, like mid-tone shimmers, and they don't really like pull. What am I saying? They don't pop on the lids as much as obviously these top shades, which is kind of what you're expected, right? But I really like this palette. I do actually think that all the shades that I went to are really, really beautiful. It's just on my initial first impressions when I first got this palette, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. And I started swatching things, but I did notice when I was swatching that, you know, it doesn't look like there's any like special shimmer, and that was fine. But then when I started playing with it, it still ends up being really beautiful on the lids, and also kind of effortless. Like I'm not sitting here blending for hours. I'm not sitting here trying to create a very intricate look. Like this is quite a basic palette, and the shimmers are pretty, I'm going to say basic, but they're actually not. They're very pretty. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I think it's a very good palette if you love neutrals. I don't think you can go wrong with this palette, but I also think if you also have a lot of palettes that are already leaning in the neutral side, this is going to bring something extra. Maybe the top shimmers would, because I think this one in particular is very special. And then I really like this one too. These two I'm not quite so sure about because they are quite similar from each other. They're kind of these, you know, lighter, like this one's a little bit more taupey, this one leans a little bit more peachy, but they're very similar to each other. I think naturally you're supposed to do it in the columns, right? Obviously I didn't do a look following that, but you could easily do a look just following the columns or just looking at the quads, because there's a lot of different looks looking at the quads as well. So it's a very intuitive palette if you're not quite sure what to do when you get a palette like this, and that's how it's laid out. But I personally liked the first one when it was all jumbled up. I really, really appreciated that. I thought it looked a little bit more exciting and interesting, but then at the same time, I didn't have it in front of me. So I might have felt the same thing like going into that palette as I do this one. So, you know, not like 100% like positive thoughts straight away, but also not negative. It's just like, oh, that's how these shimmers are. That's how this performs. But then at the end of the day, I really loved all 3 looks, and I was very happy to go into this. And I feel like I really kind of wanted to just keep going into some of the shades that I really enjoyed, like this one, and then these grungy greens. I kind of wanted to go into those, but maybe that's because I'm feeling those colors at the moment. You do have more like rosy tones over here, and then your more mid-tone neutrals, which comes in handy. I mean, the first look I went into this one, which is more of a copper, and I'm not huge on the copper shades, but I thought this still ended up looking pretty. So overall, I'm happy. I'm glad that I finally got it. Honestly, I am, because had I not got this release, I would have always thought about it, and it would have niggled in my brain. And now that I have it, I'm very, very satisfied. I'm very happy. I don't feel like I've missed out. I don't have the FOMO. I know what it's all about. Now, I have seen people do comparisons between the first palette and the second palette, and they're saying that the first palette, just in like what they're swatching, that the shimmers were a little bit more sparkly than they are in this palette. I don't know if it's lighting. I don't know if it's just how it is. I don't know if that's really a case. I've just seen a couple of people say that. So if that is the case, that's a little bit of a shame, quite honestly, because obviously if you want to get the palette, you want to get like the original like sparkle, the gorgeous shades that were in the first one. But regardless, some of these shades are really, really beautiful. Some of them are just very kind of mid, and they're fine, and they're like, you know, they're okay. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Not every single shade is amazing and sparkly, but I think they're all quite pretty, and I did like all 3 looks. Even with this black, which I don't typically like to go into black, but because it had the sparkle, I was like, let's do it. and I think it worked fine. Like if I'm gonna use a black, maybe this is the way for me to do it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like more content like this, if you want to watch me, you know, project pan all of my makeup, which I will fail to do miserably, but you can still watch me do it anyway. And any other content that is makeup related, then yeah, stick around. I will see you all next time in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye.